Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of Side Quests. And if you're wondering who's talking now, my name is Joseph. I run a podcast called Player Video Game Podcast with a buddy of mine. And I also run a project called Can't Pause, which has a website, can'tpause.com, where I do video game reviews and coverage, as well as a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@can'tpause, where I do highlight all sorts of indie games. But this is not about me. This episode is about Life is Strange: True Colors. And before we kind of get into my opinions and emotions about emotions, we're going to be talking about a lot about emotions, about Life is Strange: True Colors. I want to give you a little information. First, the game was released on March 18th, 2021, and it is basically on all platforms, Xbox, Switch, PC, PlayStation, all the whole shebang. And it was developed by Deck Nine. Now, let's go back to that. It was released March 18th, 2021. And I'm going to tell you right now, I did not play it on March 18th, 2021. I didn't even play it in 2021. I played in 2022. And the reason for that is, originally, I was not sold on the pitch of this game at all. For people that are unaware, the Life is Strange franchise has a couple entries in the series. The first entry in the series was very much about this character who could rewind time. Now, I don't think I need to explain how awesome rewinding time is. We all remember the infamous Soulja Boy clip playing Braid, couldn't believe he could rewind time. And, I understand. Rewinding time, a super cool power. Now, let's flash forward to some E3 some years ago. And when Life is Strange: True Colors was announced, I remember watching that and them saying that this character, let me tell you guys, this character has the power to feel emotions. That's right. This character is an empath. And for me, it was just crickets. I was like, really? This character can feel emotions? Like, that is just so unexciting compared to rewinding time. Like, are we seriously hinging this whole story on the fact that this person can feel emotions? And spoiler alert, I was very wrong. I was very foolish. Past Joseph has no idea what he's talking about. Future Joseph makes all the decisions now, which is why I ended up playing Life is Strange: True Colors and ended up loving it. It has to be on my best games of all time list. And there's a couple different reasons for that. I'll break them down for you in a high bullet point fashion before I dive into each one. One is how they actually use the empath power. Two is because of the writing. Three is because your decisions actually matter in the game. Four is the depiction of the events and kind of how the gameplay works. And together, all of those things come together to make an absolutely beautiful game. So let's first start and talk about the powers, right? The elephant in the room. How are they going to make, the ability to be an empath interesting, right? Because honestly, where's that a power and where is that like just a regular thing that a lot of people can do, right? Read the room, look at somebody's facial emotions, hear their voice, hear what they're saying. You can feel what people are feeling, right? Well, not in this way. The main character, Alex Chen, is actually a superhero in this way, where she will strongly feel emotions. Like, she has no doubt in her mind when someone is feeling immense anger, immense happiness, immense joy, fear, depression, all of that stuff. She really, really feels it and is very apparent, and it kind of changes her view of the world in that moment, to focus in on these really, really strong emotions. And it's not any emotion. It's usually the most strongest feeling ones. So there's that part. What they also failed to mention is she can also read minds, because whenever she is feeling these intense emotions, she can usually feel the thoughts that are associated with these emotions. So she can definitely hear secrets. If somebody's feeling guilty for holding a secret, she can hear why people are angry, all that good stuff. And to add the cherry on top, one of the wildest parts of this power is that she can actually take those emotions from people, whether intentionally or unintentionally. She can essentially say, okay, somebody is in a fit of rage. Alex now has this rage. Now she's acting out uncontrollably. And the person who she took it from is like a shell. Like, they have a hole where this emotion used to be. And as you can imagine, this makes for some incredible gameplay moments, some incredible writing moments. And that's kind of where we'll go from here. The incredible nature of the writing. Now, if you gave me a prompt and you said, hey, write me a story about a character that can feel emotions, I would not have given you a fraction of the greatness that Life is Strange True Colors was. And I want to emphasize how well the writing is, because there is not really any reason I should care about this scenario, right? Some of the games have it baked in. For example, look at Mass Effect. The galaxy is on the line. It's very clear to understand the stakes and to understand why I should immediately start caring. The Last of Us, another story that's one of the greatest, narratives of all time. It's very easy. Humanity is at stake, and we are kind of like the last hopes. It's very easy to understand right from the beginning why I should care. Life is Strange True Colors doesn't have that setup. It's basically about this character, Alex Chen, who's been in the foster care system, and now her brother has finally found her after looking for her for a long time, and is trying to rekindle that relationship by adopting her and bringing her into his family, which is essentially just him, but it's him and all of the friends and people that exist in this small little Colorado mining town. That's generally the story. It's like you're coming to this Colorado mining town and you're just going to be plopped into the drama of this town, and that's it. Have a good time. So if somebody's telling me this at a high level, of course I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, all right, this seems fine, I guess. This sounds like the plot to One Tree Hill. I have never seen One Tree Hill, but I promise you it's probably about a small town. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Are there comments on this video? I don't know. This is a podcast. Anyways, the narrative is incredible, where because it's a small town, everybody knows everybody, and there are so many different events that add drama to the situation. Everybody has an opinion about these events. Everybody has different stakes in these events because the town is so small. So I don't know if I mentioned this already, but this little small Colorado town is a mining town. So there's this big corporation that runs this mining operation, and as a result, a big percentage of the people in the town either work for this corporation, or their jobs basically support the workers that come and come to this town specifically to be employed by this mining company. So everybody has stakes in this mining company. Obviously, whenever you talk about mining, I don't think it's any surprise that there's some sort of environmental concern that comes into this, as well as some workers' conditions concerns. But there's also the kind of hard truth that, this mining company isn't good, but it's also supporting these people's livelihoods. Like the people that run these restaurants, that run these bars, these shops and stuff, pretty closely depend on this mining operation to keep people coming and keep making money. So there's this whole little balance, and that's kind of what I want to get into, where it's like nothing in this game is black and white. There's a lot of gray here, where pretty much every character on both sides of any drama you see put up a good argument about why they're on any particular side. We all know the decision making, the infamous decision making in video games that is like good choice or bad choice. Like it's very obvious this is a good choice. There's very obviously this is a bad choice. We know Mass Effect. We know Renegade Paragon. Life is Strange True Colors absolutely shatters this. And that's kind of why I really love this game. That's kind of the core behind my interest with this game, is that, I am very tired and jaded over the fake choice in games where it's like your choices matter. Like pick this dialogue option because you'll influence this character, when when the truth is behind the scenes, a lot of times you just get an extra cutscene, or you just end up in the same place regardless of what decision you pick, or they're really kiting you towards a good or bad option, and it's very obvious. Life is Strange flips this on its head, and there are choices where it's very gray and where you think you're doing the right thing, but the person that you're making this choice, or the situation you're involved with, actually says hey, this might not have been the best decision. And as the game progresses, you have to live with these decisions where you're maybe I shouldn't have done this. And they're very realistic. These might be the most realistic video game choices in any game I've ever played. And it kind of comes back to the stakes thing, because the stakes are small, because the stakes are very realistic, where it's like, hey, this is a small town. This is kind of a real life scenario. The world is not on the line. A lot of these situations you can actually see yourself being in. So it turns out that, hey, like this empath power that you have that tells you all these things that you probably shouldn't know about a person sometimes influence your decisions in the wrong ways, or at least they did for me. So there are moments where the story continues to build and climax, and have these moments where, hey, you thought you were doing the right thing, but actually, maybe you should think twice about that. And it's not even the right thing, right? It's just like how you have affected these players. And I think that's another way they do a good job of selling it. Is it's not like you play the game and you'll have these moments where they're like, you picked the wrong option, wrong, like bad job. It's more like, hey, this is how this person has reacted to your decision. And there are some times where you're like, oh yeah, even though this person did not react the way I expected to, or reacted negatively, I still stand by what I did. And there's other times people react and you're like, my God, what have I done? And I want to kind of say why this game kind of brought it all together for me. I really did enjoy this game all the way through, but the ending, especially in these games where you kind of are primarily making narrative-based choices, the ending comes together and your choices actually matter. And it was I think it's the first game ever where I was playing a game and the ending is coming, and it's clearly the point where it's like, okay, now based off of your decisions, people are going to react, or the situation is going to fall X, Y, and Z. And the situation absolutely did not fall the way I was expecting it to. I was in shock. I could not believe it. And looking back on the internet of why the decisions fell the way they did, I was like, dang, I kind of understand it. It wasn't like the game like absolutely screwed me over or anything like that. It was that this kind of makes sense in the context of everything. Like if I was this character who was standing on the opposite side of Alex, this Alex that I created, I could see myself reacting in the same way. So I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that the game felt organic, felt like it was adapting and evolving based on my decisions. And that's kind of what pulled the game together for me. I think just because of that alone, this is probably one of the best narrative-based like games I can think of. I absolutely love the way that I never felt pressured into a choice. I never felt like, I don't like any of these choices, so I'm just going to pick one. There was always an opinion I had about any given situation. And to see that genuine opinion that I have, like, come back and have real consequences was absolutely incredible. So shout out to the writing. Chef's Kiss, one of the best narrative games I think of all time. Easily top 25. I'm just throwing out random numbers. I don't want to start that debate. So we've hit on why the powers are cool. The incredible writing is cool. The decisions really matter. And before I end here, I do want to talk about how they switch up the gameplay and the depiction of events. Now, even with everything I said, the idea of just being in the small town, kind of walking around the town, talking to people, might sound boring for some people. I understand that. But something I really like that Deck 9 did is they play with perception and situation. And what I mean by that is that the game a lot of times will say like, hey, and I'll just make a hypothetical situation, right? The game is like, hey, we got a big concert coming up. We're gonna play at this concert. You're very nervous about it, and then time comes, and you're in the chapter of the game where you play the concert, and you play it, and it turns out to be fantastic. You feel like you're on the top of the world. You're on the biggest mountaintop in the world, playing down to millions upon billions of people. The game will actually depict that imaginary event, right? It's not that you're just seeing a scene of a character, in a crowd playing to a bunch of people or a small town. It's like the scene will depict you on a mountaintop playing to billions of people. So, and maybe it will give you like Guitar Hero, like rhythm prompts as gameplay items. Like the game actually does a pretty good job at playing with the gameplay elements, playing with the depiction and the imagination of what characters are seeing and feeling, which is what I really love. So at the end of the day, this game just kind of subverts expectations at every given moment. You really are on your toes the entire time. The game is really filled with drama. The game is really filled with surprising gameplay mechanics and switch ups all the way through. Absolutely loved it. I did not expect ever to be the biggest champion or one of the bigger champions of Life is Strange True Colors, but let me tell you, this game absolutely deserves your time and interest, and I hope I did a pretty good job of pitching it to you. So if I did, please go check it out. Like I said, it's on all gaming platforms, so go and show Deck9, Alex Chen, and the whole crew some love. And with that, happy gaming, everybody.
Have you ever sat on a long commute or a dull day in the office and let your mind wander back to the days of rectangle pizza, bowls and bowls of sugar cereal, and gushing over your favorite cartoons and movies in school, and worry that those favorites from childhood won't hold up today? Well, the Saturday Morning Confidential podcast answers those questions for you. Host Maddie Limerick sits down with artists and creators of today to pull back the veil of nostalgia to talk about what's great and what we would change in hindsight years later. So pull on your comfiest PJs, pour yourself a bowl of your favorite cereal, and take a deep dive into the files of Saturday Morning Confidential, releasing bi-weekly on Saturdays, available on your favorite podcast platforms and at certainpov.com.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.